My name's Bill Crum for the Oklahoman and News OK. I'm here today with Jane Abraham, the Community and Government Affairs Manager for the City of Oklahoma City, and we're going to talk with a week left in the legislative session about Oklahoma City's priorities for the 2015 legislature and where they stand so far. The first thing we're going to talk about is a bill on credit card fee recovery, and that's been an issue in Norman, Jane. Yes. I know lately. Where does that stand, and what would the bill do?
Okay. Well, this bill is really fairly simple. I mean, what it would do is allow municipalities to recover credit card fees when accepting payment for various things, whether it be your water bill or whether it be tickets or any kind of thing that you're paying to the city, permits, that type of thing, anything that people pay with a credit card, we would be able to recover those fees. Right now, the state can already do that. I know that I pay tuition for my son at OU with the credit card, and there's a fee that goes along with that. And so it's something that wasn't specifically spelled out for municipalities in the law, but it was for other state agencies and universities. So really, the bottom line for that issue was that we're spending between our trusts and across the city roughly $800,000 a year in credit card fees that we were paying, and so now we're able to recover those fees.
When the bill takes effect?
November 1st.
November 1st. So after November 1st, the city will be able to collect those fees from utility customers who pay their water bill, for instance. I guess in Norman, the charge is $3, the way I understand it.
Right.
And they've gotten a dispute over that.
Correct. And I think that there's, because of the way that the statute reads, there's some ambiguity, I think, as far as, some attorneys would interpret it that it could be charged and others interpreted that it couldn't. So we were just trying to, with this bill, to clarify that, to just make it crystal clear so that there wasn't a question as to whether those fees could be recovered.
Okay, $800,000 is a lot of money.
It is.
Uber and Lyft and what they call transportation network companies.
Yes.
The city of Oklahoma City spent the better part of a year drafting regulations. Now the state has decided that those companies should be regulated on a statewide basis. What does that bill do, and what does it do to Oklahoma City's regulations?
Well, essentially, it will preempt Oklahoma City's regulations. That was specifically spelled out in the bill. So the TNCs, or the Uber and Lyft companies, will now be under the auspices of the Corporation Commission. So the Corporation Commission is tasked with writing rules for them to follow, but they're pretty specific in terms of what they can regulate. So essentially, the city is out of that business.
Particular game.
Correct.
Do you have any idea yet how the city will approach taxis, limousine services, so on and so forth, that are highly regulated and that are unhappy with the state preempting the city's regulation?
Because I guess, let me also say, I mean, in terms of the way that the city had set up the regulations of the TNCs and the taxi companies, we made changes to both of their, I guess, regulatory structures to try to make it fair, to try to make it equitable with both types of businesses. So I don't know, honestly, as far as what, where we go from here, as far as how that what that will look like.
Another preemption issue, which is a big issue for the city of Oklahoma City. The legislature keeps stepping in. They did it last year with efforts to fight blight in the city, and preempted the city from having a registry of blighted buildings. Oil and gas drilling in the city has been a big issue, and we had, I guess it was back in December, Councilman Shadid had a meeting over a proposal to drill at Lake Hefner.
Right.
What's the legislature doing on that front this year?
So there were several bills filed to try to look at this issue, and essentially brought about by a law that was passed in Denton, Texas, to preempt any type of fracking within city limits or specific types of drilling operations. There have been no moves really in Oklahoma, among Oklahoma cities, to try to stop that completely. But there's fear out there among the oil and gas industry that that's a possibility. So I mean, I think that's what's driving this issue. On the other hand, I don't think that cities are wanting to stop oil and gas exploration. Certainly, that's a key for Oklahoma economy, and cities see that also as a key, to our growth and our overall economic health. So I think, in terms of the way that we look at the various proposed bills, is that there needs to be some reasonable, regulations kept in place for cities to try to regulate where those operations are located. If it's a heavy industrial use, that needs to be, there needs to be a variance that's brought before, like, the Board of Adjustment, for example, like with our zoning regulations. Most of ours, unless it's heavy industrial, or zoned, with those industrial uses, they could come to the Board of Adjustment and then get a variance to do that. And that's been done throughout the city. I mean, in several areas in the city, because we are very large. We're 621 square miles. So that's been done in several areas. And really, the current system works very well.
And does it protect me as a residential person from having an oil well drilled in my backyard, basically?
Right. And that's the concern. I mean, that's really the concern from the city's perspective, that this is really a local issue that needs to be determined on a local basis. And so that where that citizens have the ability to have some influence over that in terms of what ends up in their backyard, type of deal.
That bill hasn't been signed yet.
It's not.
Passed.
There are several. I think there's 2 bills left that could potentially move, and they haven't. Okay. So I think there may be some other things going on with that. The city of Oklahoma City has not been, deeply involved in that particular issue. I would say. I mean, we don't. We've not been, specific. I don't know what I want to say. Closely involved.
It's not
necessarily.
Not at the top of your legislative agenda, but you've been watching it.
We've been watching it, exactly,
okay.
and weighing in from the perspective of the local issue being important.
Okay, before we move on to a fun bill about dog kennels, what is your understanding of where the legislature stands? They have to be done by the last Friday of the month, as I understand
Correct.
it, but it sounds like they may be done before Memorial Day?
I believe that's correct. I think that they are trying to finish all of their business by May 22nd.
Okay.
So that's what I've heard.
Any major hits that Oklahoma City could take that are out there and outstanding right now?
Well, we're watching several. We're watching things closely. The last week of May can tend to get very exciting out of the Capitol with things happening at the last minute. So we're watching that very closely to see what happens. Okay,
and the dog kennel bill. The city of Oklahoma City has been trying to get that done pretty much ever since I can remember, at least a couple of years. What does that bill do? I know I'm going to give it away. It's been signed by the governor already and will take effect on November 1st. Well, what does that bill do, and why did Oklahoma City have an interest in getting that done? Okay,
well, we were approached by several different people who have been interested in having either a dog grooming business or a dog dog daycare business, that type of thing, in the urban area to meet the demands for all of the various apartment buildings and downtown housing and that kind of thing that are coming in. And people move downtown and they bring their dogs with them. Well, there was a law that was put in place, I want to say in 2007, that restricted the location of dog kennels, which was defined very broadly to be anyone holding on or having more than 4 dogs overnight. Within 2,500 feet of a school or a daycare, which is half a mile. So with that restriction, these urban areas where there was essentially no place that they could put one of these grooming facilities where they could hold dogs overnight for commercial purposes. So in the intervening time, so that was in 2008, I think 2008 when that law was passed. In 2012, the legislature more closely defined commercial pet breeders, and they went through, I think it was Representative Denny, went through a significant rewrite of the agricultural section to try to clearly define what constituted a commercial pet breeder. So based on that, what we did was to try to narrow the focus of that law. So you still can't have a commercial pet breeder within 2,500 feet of a school or daycare, but it doesn't capture these other types of businesses.
So if I want to take my dog down for a shampoo on Saturday morning, it might be in coming months or years.
Exactly.
It might be a little bit easier for me if I live downtown. And
exactly.
That need could arise, for instance, and this is a little bit of an inside joke, but if the dog has an encounter with a skunk, for instance, she can get cleaned up thanks to this bill.
That's right, exactly.
All right, well, thanks very much. My name is Bill Crum for the Oklahoman and News OK. I've been speaking with Community and Government Affairs Manager Jane Abraham of the City of Oklahoma City and recapping the legislative session so far for 2015. Thank you.